Welcome to another episode of Voiced Thoughts Talk Show and Podcast with your host, yours truly, Danette Mahabeer. Today on my podcast, I have a very special guest, Randelya Parker. And we're here to talk about today's topic, sober living. Randelya, it is a pleasure having you on my show. Welcome.
Nice to meet you, and I'm glad that you invited me to be a part of your podcast.
I am delighted to have you and to share your story with the world. So we're just going to have a conversation. We're just going to tell people who you are, what you've been through, and where you are today to give someone hope that's out there maybe going through the same thing. And so we're going to talk all things sober living today. So first, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Randelya Parker, of course. I'm born and raised from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm 34 years old. I actually graduated medical billing and coding, and I did a lot of good things in that and being a billing specialist. So I have a career that I had, basically. I graduated Hunters Lane High School for my high school, so it was just pretty much everything was smooth sailing until I was forced to become sober, basically.
Wow, forced to become sober. I feel like there is a whole bunch to discuss right there. So what happened first? Tell us how it all started before you were forced to become sober.
Well, before I was forced to become sober, I had a real bad addiction into alcoholism. I loved to party. I loved to hang out, club, hung around drug dealers, gang members, other natures of bad crowds that you would know that is out there that you can get a part of. When I caught my charge, I got pulled over by an officer. My children was in the vehicle. We was at the skating ring. When I went to the skating ring, I had a bad addiction where I would drink with alcohol bottles in the vehicle, and my kids was in the vehicle. So I got pulled over backing out of a parking space, and I was taken to jail. I had to bond out, and basically when I made bond, I was placed into a program that is called Recovery Court.
Okay.
And that's how I began the journey of sobriety.
Okay, so I have some questions if you don't mind. I'm sure the audience would probably have these questions as well. So that day or night when you were given that charge, you were pulling out of a parking space, you said.
Yes, ma'am.
So you didn't even leave the parking lot when you caught that charge.
No.
So maybe you were either being
they were on foot.
Right, but would you say they were targeting you or was it just an area where they know people go to have drinks and now they're going to be intoxicated and trying to drive? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I thought maybe they were more targeting me. When I went in the skating ring, I had brought my children pizza. It's Rivergate Skate Center to be exact, in Madison. They have a lot of patrol officers in that area. And once they realized that I was getting into the vehicle, that's when they stopped me. And said that they smelled the liquor on my breath. So they basically said that they had all probable cause because they smelt it on my breath.
Oh, wow. What was going through your mind at that particular moment when you're busted? Basically, you know it. And,
busted.
Right. What was going through your mind right then and there? You had your kids with you. What, if you can remember, what was going through your mind? I really want to know.
I was really mad, and I told the officer that I would get him fired by Donald Trump if he didn't let me out the car.
Oh my God.
So I think they knew I was drunk. Girl, you don't know Donald Trump, but I was just under the influence, and I kind of knew I had been drinking, but I didn't think it was to the extent that I would harm myself or my children. But I also knew that they had said that they would take me to the hospital, draw my blood, get blood work done, and that's what they did. And now they're saying it's a law where you can't refuse to get, you know, your blood drawn once they tell you that. If they feel like that you need your blood drawn, they're gonna take it. And they tied me down to the bed and they took my blood in the hospital. So that was just like, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my mom came and got my kids. I had to make a phone call while I was in jail, and I reached out to my mother, and she instantly came and got the kids from the skating ring. At first, I was mad. I didn't want to return back to the skating ring ever in life, and I did it for a long time. But recently, I just went on the New Year's. I took my niece and my daughter back to the skating ring, so I had to revisit that place, and it was all right. You know, I thought it was going to be like bad luck going back to where I got busted. You know how that goes.
I am so proud of
but
you.
But it wasn't. I had to face it eventually.
Gosh. I mean, that is a very bold and brave move, especially with your journey and where you are right now, going through that recovery and almost graduating. We'll talk more about that. But like going back to the crime scene, basically, and facing that, you know, that can be very traumatic, and it's like a reliving the moment. You see that same space where it happened. You know, the parking spot. It's like you walking up right there. It's almost like you're looking back. But that's good that you were able to face that, because now you're looking at a very huge, extravagant transition. Because like you're not the same person. And
no,
that's why you're sitting
not
on this couch with me today, and having your story heard by many people across this, you know, globe, because your story is very powerful. And that's why I wanted you to be on this show, because, you know, sober living and talking about before, you know, the incident, and talking about what happens thereafter is really what's going to make that story powerful. So we're going to move beyond, okay, now you've, you know, gotten a charge and your kids were taken. So tell us a little bit more about, now that your mom came and got your kids, what happened thereafter? Like, were they taken away from you? You know, was there like a CPS case file open? Like, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, the kids were removed from my household. DCS was involved.
Okay.
They came and removed my children for 6 months. I lost my kids. I had to take a parenting class. I had to take an IOP class. I had to really jump through hoops to like be able to regain my children back into my custody.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I had to go to court. I had to pay an attorney. I paid an attorney to represent me, and he's the one who's gotten me recovery court. So once I started the recovery court journey, they told me upon me being in a program and me, you know, seeming as if I wanted to get through help that they wanted for me to have in order to get my kids back, I had to have these certificates in order to regain custody of my children, showing proof that I have, you know, taken the proper procedures to be able to take care of my kids the correct way as being a correct mother, instead of being a party animal or irresponsible and not being mature to be a mother. And I'm a single parent as well. So, you know, it was just a lot at one time that I had to take in. I felt like I had lost in the world. Like, I felt like I lost my life. I felt like that I was ashamed. I felt guilt. I felt all these kind of ways as of being a failure to my family members, to my kids, to everyone. Even friends that I thought was friends disappeared. You know, I don't even have those really, you know, like at this point, because once they seen that I had got in trouble, they was like, oh, okay, she's not going to make it through that. You know, everyone expected me to really fail. They didn't think that I would make it. And even when I caught my charge, I still pushed my brand. I created a brand for my daughter just so I could connect with positive people And I was like, I'm not going to give up on my dreams just because I'm in trouble.
Right.
It doesn't define me as a person.
I love that.
You know, I am still someone.
Yes.
I'm still somebody. Even though I've made mistakes, I can overcome and I can be better. And I've always wanted to be better, you know, and I just didn't see the way of operating without the drink in my hand. And once I realized that I can have fun without that drink being in my hand, that's when I knew that I had overcame what people thought I couldn't do, and they thought I could never get sober. I had people turn their backs on me. They talked about me. They put me down as an individual. As a parent, said I wasn't a good parent, talked about my parenting skills and how I raised my kids and took care of them. But throughout that whole process, I never lost my place. I never lost my car. I've never lost anything that God had already had in my life. So I was like, wow, and just exposed me on social media. I had a person that I thought was a friend that exposed me and talked about me as if my kids was going to be a part of their family and not being back with their mother. So I was very hurt, even filing for custody behind my back for my children. Had to deal with that, and I felt a lot of pain and hurt.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know if I would succeed in getting the kids back, and I didn't wake up every day without them being there because I'm used to waking up to my children every day. It was just the most horrible experience, and going down to the juvenile court system, and I'm seeing the same women that I thought it was not only me. I thought that, you know, I felt ashamed. I was like, it's only me going through this. Like, no one else is experiencing this but me. But once I had to go to the juvenile courts, there are hundreds of women that has lost their children. And, you know, some of them wanted them back, and some of them didn't want their kids back. They was like, I can't afford to take care of them. I can't afford to do the things that my parents and other family members can do for them. And they didn't want their kids back. They didn't want the responsibility. And I was like, hold up. That's not me.
Right.
Like, I love birthdays and holidays, and I love providing for my kids and waking up, you know, buying them shoes, buying them clothes, getting their hair done, haircuts. Like, I love doing those things. Right. Even though it costs me, I still love doing those things for my kids. I look forward to it. Like, they're the way I breathe every day. Like, they're the reason why I really want to, you know, wake up, because I know I got to take care of them. And so when I seen that it was other women and I could go to a place, and it's called AA meetings, I met a lot of people there. If you are like in a part of your life where you feel like you cannot overcome addiction, there are places that you can go to have meetings with people on a daily, regular basis and tell them about your life and your story, just to release the energy of what you went through. And I didn't know these type of places existed until I went and got into the court system. Right. They made me talk to a therapist. They made me talk to a counselor. Every day, that's my daily routine now. For 2 years, it's been this way. Wow. They track it on a piece of paper. I have to get it signed to let it be known that I've been contacting and talking with those people. There's different people you can talk to, like as in therapists and counselors. I also had to take urine tests daily. I call a number because I'm on probation to make sure I have not relapsed, you know, and went back to drinking again. And it's like so many things that they're putting me through to make sure that I'm clean. And a lot of people didn't believe that I could even do it. But the thing that happened for me that kept me sober is that I surrendered to my higher power. I told God when I lost my kids, I was like, I don't ever want to experience this feeling ever again in life. Like, I could not even do anything about it, and I was powerless. And the moment you realize you're powerless and you can't even get your kids back, and then I didn't want them to be angry at me and upset. So I told myself, like, if God walked me through this program, I would never pick up another drink. Right. And I never have again. Like, I told God that because my kids were sad. I could see it in their faces that they didn't see me every day. And I felt bad that I had to put them in that position.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, I felt like a failure. But then I also remembered, see, your higher power will do things to get you back to where you need to be. And really this time, I'm going to say, I'm stronger than ever now.
Right.
Because I have the support system that I need. I have the groups
awesome.
that I need. I have the people that I need to communicate and talk to about my issues or family issues or whatever's going on in my life. They're there for me. They're positive. They don't judge me. They actually uplift me with positive things, as if you just can do it, you know, keep going, and don't give in, you know.
Right.
And I had to change by listening to positive affirmations. That's very important, because I was told a lot of negative things, that I would be like my mom or I would be like my dad, because my dad is incarcerated as well, and he's in jail. So he's in the system.
Right.
So I'm the one that's in the system like him. So I was the black sheep, basically, of the family. And to be the black sheep that no one cared or even thought would even make it, you know. And I learned now, you gotta have something for people to even want to be around you. If you don't have nothing, people don't want to be your friend. They want to see and see what they can get from you, you know. And I've learned that, because when I had everything from the drinks to the whatever, the turn up, that's what they call it, turn up.
Right.
And I had the drinks and all the
you had all the crowds and the friends,
Yes.
and everybody want to hang out with you,
yes, everybody wanted to be my friend. But
right?
now that I'm in the system and I'm fighting for my life, you think anybody really is there? No. They all have disappeared. They shadowed away. They have not stuck by my side. But you know what I learned? I said, at the end of the day, I'm not even mad at anyone that hasn't been there, that, you know, wasn't through my journey.
Right.
Because I feel like God removed them
Absolutely.
from my new journey.
Absolutely.
So,
your new chapter.
My new chapter,
yes.
yes. And when you realize that, they wasn't supposed to come along. I was supposed to leave them in
that season, or that chapter,
season,
you know?
And you can't bring your old mess into your new mess, but, you know, it is what it is, and I've accepted it. And a part of AA, they tell you you have to accept the things you cannot change. And I accepted the things that I couldn't change, and the ones that I thought was going to be my friend in there, they all disappeared. But they're following me on social media, so they're seeing this right now.
They're seeing this, and they'll see this. And I'm so, first and foremost, let me stop and say, I am absolutely proud of you. And I want you to know that, and you need people around you that will tell you that they are proud of who you are and the journey and how far you have come. Because there are two different quotes that came to me while you were talking about your story. They say, if you want to know your true friends, just pretend like you're dead. You know, and
I've done that before.
Right, and it doesn't mean literally pretend like you're dead, but you were in a very horrible situation that seemed to many hopeless, or like, oh, you're doomed. It's like a doom and gloom, right? However, you've surpassed that, you've triumphed that, like you overcame that. And then the other one is, you know, here you are believing, even when you're in the middle of the system, that I'm gonna get my kids back. I'm gonna use this downfall and failure to become something better, to create a new chapter that's you know, success and overcoming the past and moving forward. And so it says you have to believe in yourself so hard that others have no choice but to believe in you. They might not believe right then, but you believe in yourself continuously, and that's what I'm getting from your story. And so they have, even the people who fell off your wagon on the way, didn't believe in you, guess what? Now they probably want to jump back on, because they're like, oh, she's doing it and doing it and doing it, yeah, and now here you are. So first, I want to just say I'm very proud of you, and your story is very powerful. You're gonna be able to change lives. You're gonna probably speak to a bunch of women who may have just gotten into the system, and now I'm prophesying over your life, where you might walk into a room where these ladies were just picked up like yesterday, and they don't see no hope. They're losing friends, and they've disappointed family members and lost their children, but they also want their children back. And you're gonna be able to tell your story, and they're gonna get hope from your story. because it's a very powerful story. And I'm happy that you came on my podcast and my talk show to share that story.
Yes, I got my kids back.
And you got your kids back.
I got my kids back.
You know,
they've been back home with me while I'm in the court system.
See, and how long have they been back with you?
June of last year, they returned back home. And when they came back home, it was rocky. Because I still had to do everything the courts expected me to do. I had to do 7 meetings at the beginning of me starting. 7 meetings through a week. Every day, I had to go to a meeting.
Wow.
My kids went with me to these meetings. I said, you know what? My kids are going to go with me so they can know and they can exactly see that there is people that is sick, you know, and that is people that need help.
Right.
And, you know, and they even make friends now with the people at AA. They're like, oh, where are your kids, Randelya? You know, they're checking in on us and making sure we're okay. I mean, they are so awesome, like to the point, like they're like my other family.
Right.
I call them my AA family.
Okay.
My mom used to get mad sometimes, but I used to be like, well, you know, y'all my family too, but I got another family. You know, they're the ones I can be freely with. Sometimes you can't be freely with your own intermediate family
because they haven't been through what you've been through, and so you're looking for people who you can relate to.
Yeah, and
you
that's the thing they can relate to. They've been in addiction. They've actually experienced it, and you know, they've been where people talked about them and brought them down and said they wasn't gonna make it. So when someone is saying those things, and you know, it's like, but the same ones that you say those things to, one day they're gonna make it, and then you're gonna be like, oh, you know. So that's why I'm a firm believer in believe what you say to people, because you never know how a person's situation can change.
Absolutely.
And just because it looks bad doesn't mean it won't blow up or they won't be famous or become something.
Right, absolutely.
You know, so you always be careful what you say to other people. And I've also, when I got my kids back, I was just like, you know what, I just got to tough it out. You know, I was in the courts. I had the director of the program like, Randelya, you got to figure it out. You have to do it. I'm like, I know, and this is so hard. Why do I have to do all this? Why do I have to? I was so frustrated, like to the point where I don't have no help. I'm a single parent. Like, you know, sometimes I can count on people, sometimes I can't.
Right.
No one's fully there. And then when you really want someone to help you, they talk about what they done for you.
Right.
Oh, well, I helped you do this, or I helped you do that. So that's why a lot of people, they shut down. They don't ask people for help, even if they need it. Because if you need it, they're going to talk about that you need help anyway, or they're going to put you
almost
down.
feel guilty asking for help.
Yeah.
Because of the, the ripple effect that's going to follow.
Yeah, and you shouldn't feel guilty asking for help.
No.
I mean, if you need help, just help
You should be able to reach out and not feel judged.
Yeah.
You know, or feel like you have to give back something in return. You know,
or being put down.
That's just how our society has normalized these things, you know. But yeah, so right now, how longer do you have in the program?
Right now, today, I have 38 days.
Oh,
we counted it up.
I love it.
My graduation will be in March. And I still will invite the people that's not been there.
Yeah,
You're still welcome to come, everyone. I'm not going to hold a grudge, or I'm not going to be angry and upset. No. Because you know what? God already had it worked out where I was going to win anyway. You know, I was going to win regardless. It was already planned. It was already in his plan that I would succeed, because that was what the story he had for me.
Right.
And I believe that in my mind that God was going to let me succeed. So I'm still going to invite everyone. I'm planning a big, huge celebration. I would like everybody to join me. Nice. And I'm going to send out invites. I may get you to help me with that too. And I just want people to still be a part of my graduation. You know, I don't hold any hard grudges, or I'm not upset. You know, it's life. You know. Right. You realize who gonna be there when you ain't got. I ain't had no ride or die. But you know what? God was my ride or die. I love that. He was my ride or die. That's the one that I knew
Never left you or
never
forsake
left
you.
me or forsakes me, and he
That-
walked me through. So I didn't look
nice,
forward to
yeah.
people being the ride or die. And you know, it was some family members that stuck by me. They know who they are, and then they was there and helping me, like my mother and my family. So like, but at the end of the day, other outside people, oh, that didn't even matter. But God will really truly show you your real friends, and I'm just grateful today because I've been sober 2 years and 1 month.
Wow.
After this story, so
That
I
is
did
amazing.
it, and all the altering and changing what I did in my daily routine, as in like I color, I do reading, I clean, I do other hobbies just to keep myself, you know, busy. And that's how I think really succeeded in my sobriety. It's just listening to positive affirmations and telling myself that, you know, you can do this. You know, even when I didn't see it, I had to realize, like, God does things when you don't see it. I didn't think it was a way. I was like, I have to pay, like, I had got a second job in the program. They told me I couldn't work a second job. So I only could work one job during this whole program. And I was like, how in the world do they expect me? And I had real bills. Like, most of the people lived in, like, sobriety homes, or they had, like, halfway houses and stuff like that they were in. So they really didn't have to pay bills, but I was still living in my condo, and I lived in a condo. So I had real bills. I'm paying full rent.
Utilities.
And then I'm paying my car note and utilities and child care and being a mother at the same time. So I really didn't see the way of me making it to graduation. And I was like, I don't see how this is going to work. Like, they put me in jail for a day. I woke up and had to go to the holding cell, got up 8 o'clock in the morning, and was like, what in the world? They just put me in jail for having a second job. So...
Oh, that is so heartbreaking.
And I think I told you.
Yeah, so like all those stipulations.
It was, you know, so many rules.
So many rules and different things, and you just have to walk that straight and narrow. And no wonder there are people who didn't think, you know, you were capable of doing it, because maybe to some people the system is designed for you to fail. Some people say that, and you know, this is an open forum for us to vocalize all our thoughts, and that's what I want to create, why I created this podcast and talk show, because I don't want it to be scripted or filtered, or you know, I want it to be true and authentic, and you know, to each individual story that's being shared on this podcast and talk show.
And I said that every day.
You know,
it's creative for me to fail.
But you know, and I'm sure there were, you know, moments where you were just frustrated. And you know, there's another side of me that's wanting to say maybe they weren't doing it for you to fail. You know, when you look back at it now, you're like, well, I'm going to be graduating. But you look at what you've accomplished and how that rigid system has molded you into this new chapter. That, you know, that, I mean, if these things probably weren't in place, you can see how easy it is for people to go right back to, you know, what they're used to. And so I think that it's almost like tough love. You know, you have your children, why do you discipline them? You discipline them simply because you want them to change.
Right.
You don't want them to stay the same, but if you do not discipline them and then put, you know, stipulations in place, then what's going to prevent them from doing it again? You know, and so I think that's what that's how the system is designed. It's like, well, you know, in your eyes, because you're going through it, it's hard for you to see, but I promise once you probably come out of it, you're like, well, I'm happy they did this and I'm happy they did that.
They saved my life because I've had a cousin that passed away. He was in addiction, you know, and I've known people that has passed away that's in addiction from AA meetings that didn't make it, and they died in their addiction. Like they actually died and still was getting under the in their addiction, like high and stuff. So when I went back and I looked and I seen this, and I'm like, he saved my life because I'm not doing those things no more. You know, I'm not doing the things that I used to do and I thought was okay and I thought it was cool to do. And now today, I was harming my body. And I realized that when I intake anything that to alter my thoughts, that could alter my brain cells, it was not okay, doing those things to myself, even from pills or any type of drugs.
Influence at all.
Influence. And I'm just grateful, like I realized, now I'm an OG. I'm 34 now, So that happened when I was, I'm like, okay, so I'm older now. And I was like, you know what, maybe it's time to try something different.
Absolutely, I love that.
It's the time to do something different.
Yes.
And when I realized, like, I've wasted so much time and lost so many jobs because I was drunk and couldn't go to work, and it was making me hit rock bottom. It wasn't making me succeed. There was no point in me doing it. And I had goals and dreams already. I already had graduated college and stuff.
Nice.
So, and then I went and enrolled myself back in school for my healthcare administration for my bachelor's. So I was a functioning addict. Like, that's what they call a functioning addict. A person that can work, that can still do things and still function. I was that, and I would get drunk, go up and go to work, whatever. So it's like
something had to change.
Yeah, something had to change.
And it took something to happen, and that something was you
being in the court system.
Right, being in the court system.
But my daughter and my kids, they was like, oh man, we're not gonna be able to help you look for your keys no more, because I used to get drunk, lose my keys and stuff like that. And to hear my kids say that to me, it was like, wow.
Right.
I really was like okay with my kids helping me look for my keys under the influence. So yeah, I kind of blame myself a lot, for my past, and I've taught my kids to think that that was okay. And, from them seeing me do it, they're going to follow me. So I had to learn that. So now I've been working these 2 years to reverse my kids' thinking, to think that you don't have to follow the other people. There's going to be people in addiction. You can't save everybody, and everybody not going to want to follow me. But at the end of the day, as long as I share and spread the word and know that there's ways out there to get sober and clean, they have a choice to join or not. And if they don't, that's fine too, So at least I can say I tried. I tried to share it with my cousin in the past. He didn't want that, So it's like you can't force people to want it.
Right. They have a saying, you can bring the horse to the water, but you cannot force the horse to drink. So as we wrap up right now with this segment, guys, on Sober Living with Randelya Parker, I wanted to just ask you, if there is someone out there right now that may have not been charged or caught and they're addicted to some form of influence, what are your advice to them? From your story.
Join a group. I go to AA meetings. They're all over in Nashville. I go to Sweet Surrender. There's one located in Madison. I go to Last Stop Club. They're very great on Owensville Road. I kind of bounce all over. The Friendship House. They're located off Charlotte. There's all kind of AA places you can go, and you can meet positive people, to help you stay where you need to be on track. And also, if you are in addiction, you can also reach out to your counselors and therapists. Centerstone, they help you. Just get you a counselor, therapist at Centerstone. So that's pretty much what I've done, and I just research like positive affirmations, find other things to do with my time, like painting or writing, journaling. I journal and try to write down things that happen in my life, that since I've been sober, it's all the things that's been coming about for me to do now since I'm positive now. It's like God is blessing me, like today, to be here with you and share my journey. And I've done a fashion show, and you've been there for that. My kids was in their first fashion show, their first event, and me. So I'm getting put into things. So I'm blessed and excited to be put in more things as well. So, and move forward, and, in all areas. Like, I be doing so many things. try to stay busy.
Right.
That's the best thing to do. I work a lot and I stay busy a lot. So just stay busy, doing positive things, and you can break your addiction. Some people it's hard because of their mindset. It's in your mind. You have to believe in your mind that you can do it. You have to believe in your mind that you can change.
Right.
You have to train and reverse your thoughts in your mind. And that's where it starts. Like, you have to believe that you can overcome it, and then you will. And just try something different. It gets old. I was doing it since I was 16.
Wow.
And all those years, I would think that I would ever be sober.
Right.
Yeah, it was
It's
normal.
normal.
And then I seen the AA people. I was like, okay, so there's another way to live. There is another way to live.
Wow.
And people don't know that. They think that that's the only way to live. And I got more energy now. I feel great about myself when I wake up in the morning. I make myself look good and pretty and nice. And I don't have to worry about having a hangover, being sick, or what I'm going to take to get rid of my hangover.
Makes sense.
You know, so just like, it's a plus thing about not being in addiction. It's not a bad thing. And people try to make it seem like it is. But for me, it's an awesome thing today. I'm able to remember things that I do with my kids and not wake up like, oh man, I don't remember what happened, you know, because I blacked out. Like, you would be moments where you would black out being drunk, or I would pass out on the floor, and there was times I woke up in the hospital. Like, my addiction was real bad, to the point my family would be over me in the hospital, like, Randelya, what is going on? I'm like, I don't turn up. I would have, like, bottles lined up against my wall, like this big of drinks that I don't drink until I couldn't drink no more, and then passed out. So, and I thought that's turning up to me. Like, you know, I'm having a good time, I'm turned up, like, and then don't remember anything. Don't remember nothing that happened. So, I just say, just get the help you need. I went to rehab. I went to rehab at the next door. I did that for 30 days. I was an inpatient. I left my place, my home, and everything, and left for 30 days and put myself in rehab facility. So there's a lot of rehab facilities out there. So use your resources, and hit me up anytime through social media. I've had people even like reach out through social media, like, what do I need to do to get help? I mean, I'm willing, I will tell people, you know, I'm not that type of person. I'm like, yeah, you can go to here, you can go to a facility to get the help you need, you know, rehab places, you know, do what you have to do, because there's people overdosing, there's fentanyl going out here, real bad. They're dying, they're not living to see nothing, because it's to the point where it's life or death for me. Wow. It was me losing my kids or me doing the right thing. Because if I do this again, I won't get my kids back again. No, absolutely. God ain't going to give me too many more chances. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to have to get it right this time. Just do the right thing. Just do the right thing. And that's what I said, do the right thing.
Right. Thank you so much for providing those resources for people and advice that you've given. And so, guys, you can also find Randelya. She's also one of the members of our Facebook group. So we do have a Facebook group. It's called Voiced Thoughts Talk Show and Podcast by Danette Mahabeer. So I will probably create a post in there where you guys, you know, if you had questions or other things you want to reach out to Randelya, she's a member of that group. And so I'll be sharing her podcast there as well. And we're on YouTube. So if you want to see the visuals, see what Randelya looks like, definitely join the YouTube, subscribe, and just follow us on all platforms. Guys, thank you so very much for tuning in to today's episode, Sober Living with Randelya Parker. I am your host, and my name is Danette Mahabeer, and we'll see you on the next episode.